The scenes for Vader, I'd love to know more. If were there any scenes that that you wrote in there that weren't shot or weren't filmed, or were there scenes that they were debating on putting in that they cut out or whatever?
I don't think so. I mean, the big scene with Vader in the hallway was something that got added on after me, and I think to
Hmm.
me, again, although I'm biased, to me is one of the top 10 all-time great
Hmm.
Star Wars moments. I think
I
if you're
agree.
going to make a list of like top 10 scenes in all the Star Wars movies, that Vader in the hallway has got
Yeah.
to be there. I take
Yeah.
no credit for it. I had a similar idea. I wanted to put Vader in combat on the beaches on Scarif.
Oh my God,
Originally there was this
That would have been
idea, and
beautiful.
I pitched it in the room, but like it didn't go over, and we never put it in the script. But the idea was basically
they didn't go for it. What the
it was
hell?
just, you pitch a million ideas, and some get picked up and some don't. I could have pushed for it more, but I didn't. But the idea was the rebels. Jyn had gone up into the tower to transmit the plans, and the rebels had basically kind of bunkered in around the base of the tower to prevent any Imperials following her up.
Yeah.
And they really needed to take out that tower, but again, they were all kind of like trenched in. And the scene was basically, it's like, Lord Vader, we can't get any of our troops through because the rebels have like put everything around the entrance to the bunker. And he was like, put me on that beach. I'll open the door for you.
Oh my God,
and
dude.
that was going to be the idea of him. Like, it's basically the same thing as the hallway, but on the beach, just like a one-man Normandy invasion and just taking out the entire rebel garrison. Again, I in retrospect, I should have pushed harder for it. But again, I think they actually ended up doing something even better, because that scene in the hallway is so much more. It's almost like a scene from a horror movie.
Of course,
it's
yeah.
like this,
It was amazing.
This thing is just going to murder.
Yeah.
It's like what I thought was interesting about it was where the original idea for the beach scene came from, and I think the hallway scene came from a similar place. Was the argument I made was, look, we've seen Vader in combat in various different ways. We've seen him fight his equal, right? We've seen him fight Obi-Wan Kenobi in kind of a one-on-one battle. We've seen him fight people, or we've seen him deal with people that are obviously like easy for him to toy with, like a force choke. I find your lack of faith disturbing. Like, we've seen him do that. Like, that's nothing to him.
Yeah.
But I always wondered, what does the asymmetric battle look like? One Vader, one Sith Lord against 100 heavily armed rebel soldiers. Who wins that? Well, obviously Vader does. But what does that look like? Well, now we know, because they did the hallway scene, and I just thought that was absolutely incredible. But in terms of the contribution, so again, it was one of the things that we did very early on. I remember sitting around with Gareth and him saying, like, I feel like we need like a really like iconic visual connection point to the original films, like Jyn and Kren. All these are all characters, but like Star Wars people don't know who they are. We're introducing them for the first time. We need like an iconic, not just the Death Star, but a character that actually fits that people are, oh shit, he's in the movie. Yeah. Tarkin is cool, but doesn't really get you all the way there. It's kind of a secondary character. So again, Vader, we know is a big part of the Death Star as well. We know he's there on the Death Star the day after. So like, what can we do with Vader? We know that he's literally tracking down the Death Star plans in the first scene of the movie. So it makes perfect. It wasn't really like, we didn't have to shoehorn him in. It made sense that he would be in the film. And so the idea was, what purpose can he serve? And again, one of my other like proud contributions to the film was Mustafar, and putting him there. Like, I want to see.
Oh, that's awesome.
Gareth, one of Gareth's favorite scenes in Star Wars is the scene in Empire when the Imperial officer walks in and you catch that glimpse at the back of his head as the helmet's coming on. Remember the first time we saw it, oh shit, like what does he really look like under there? Like the first time, like seeing like the actual organic Vader under all the armor. It's like, I was like, what can we do in that space? Like, could we blow that up and do a better version of that? And so I always had this idea that, especially after Revenge of the Sith, like we know just how physically destroyed he is. Like there's so little of him. Like this is the interesting thing that you often don't think about. But, it's like this 7-foot tall guy in this like black armor. But what's underneath there is like virtually any human being. It's what Obi-Wan says, right? He's more machine now than man. Yeah. There's like, he's got no limbs. He's all burned up. Like it's almost like the stump of organic matter that's stuck in the middle of all this armor. And I like so they did that underneath all that armor, like Anakin Skywalker was still there, basically. We know that, right? Because he comes back at the end. We know Anakin Skywalker's never truly gone from, whatever spirit is inside of there. Right. And I like the idea of showing that. So like put him in a Bacta tank, similar, again, kind of matching up what you saw with Luke in Empire. Put him in a Bacta tank. The pitch behind it was, listen, he's so physically ruined and wrecked. We know the armor keeps him alive. I like the idea that just every now and again he has to kind of take all the armor off and go into and kind of rejuvenate like his organic self, like go into like once a month he has to have like a star day, basically, to like rejuvenate himself. And I wanted to remind people like there really is almost nothing of the human part of him left. So let's see that. And I remember that's actually one of the scenes that I wrote that is almost completely unchanged from the original script was Krennic walking into the chamber and seeing what almost looks like I think the way I originally pictured almost like a carnival freak show has like a deformed baby in a jar or whatever. I wanted it to look like that, but like the Star Wars version of it. And then he comes out and all the steam and the armor and everything. That was a big part of it. And then the other part was like, where does Vader go on his day off? Like, what is he like? He can't just live on a Star Destroyer or the Death Star. Like, where does he go? And what does that tell you about him? And obviously we know that Mustafar is a historically significant place because it's basically where Anakin died and Darth Vader was born, right on that beach of lava. And we never really kind of got that deep into it, but I love the idea that he chose to build his temple there, his fortress, whatever you want to call it, as like I don't think Darth Vader put it there. I think Anakin put it there. And there's this idea that like in a longer version of the movie, you might have had a shot where Vader is kind of looking out over those lakes of lava, like literally over that area where Darth Vader died and Anakin Skywalker was born. Just having a quiet moment thinking, what the hell happened to me?
Right.
Who have I become? And again, those are the private thoughts that he's having that he would never express to anyone, but that's the part of him that Luke's able to reach many years later. But just this idea that it was a different environment. I love the fact that this is something they added later, but I love the idea that when you go to all the different planets, they put the name up, it was cool. Cabin 4, whatever it might be. But then when you go to Mustafar, they don't tell you what it is. Like they let the fans figure, oh shit, this is Mustafar.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a nice way to kind of
same
combine.
thing in Rise of Skywalker, I think, actually, right?
Yeah, maybe I don't recall, but I thought that was a nice way to kind of connect. If you think of like Rogue One as this movie that canonically sits between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, bringing back Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa, bringing back Genevieve as Mon Mothma, and I personally am not a fan of the prequels, but that doesn't mean you don't acknowledge them in the canonical storytelling. And so having Mustafar there, having some of those other prequel characters there, I just felt it was a nice way for Rogue One to form kind of a connective bridge between the two trilogies.
Really tied it in.